Before we dive into this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. What you're about to witness is a story of sisterly love so profound and sacrifice, so complete that it will change how you think about family bonds forever. This is a testament to the extraordinary lengths people will go to protect the ones they love. Steve Harvey has hosted Family Feud for over a decade, bringing laughter and joy to millions of households across America. His ability to connect with contestants from all backgrounds and make them feel comfortable has become his trademark. But on a warm afternoon in June 2024, Steve encountered a story that would test every ounce of his composure and leave him struggling to maintain his professional demeanor. What started as a routine game show appearance would become one of the most emotionally charged moments in television history, revealing a truth about sacrifice and sisterhood that would resonate with audiences around the world. The Rodriguez family from Phoenix, Arizona, stood on the Family Feud stage with an energy that immediately caught everyone's attention. There was something different about them, a closeness and synchronicity that spoke of bonds forged through shared experience rather than just shared genetics. At the center of the family stood Lisa Rodriguez, a 38-year-old woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile that seemed to carry both deep sadness and profound joy simultaneously. Standing beside her were her husband Marco and their two teenage sons, along with what appeared to be another teenage girl who bore a striking resemblance to Lisa. What the studio audience could not have known, what even the show's producers had not fully understood during the application process, was the journey that had brought this family to the stage. The story behind their appearance was not one of typical sibling rivalry or ordinary family dynamics. It was a story of loss and love, of promises kept against impossible odds, and of a sacrifice so complete that it had redefined what family meant to everyone involved. Lisa Rodriguez had grown up in a working-class neighborhood in Los Angeles as the older of two sisters. Her younger sister, Christina, had been born when Lisa was 6 years old, and from the moment their mother brought the baby home from the hospital, Lisa had felt a fierce protective instinct toward her little sister. Their parents both worked long hours to make ends meet, which meant Lisa often took on caretaking responsibilities far beyond what was typical for a child her age. She would walk Christina to school, help with homework, pack lunches, and tuck her into bed at night when their parents worked late shifts. The bond between the sisters deepened as they grew older. Lisa became Christina's confidant, protector, and biggest cheerleader. When Christina struggled with mathematics in middle school, Lisa spent hours tutoring her. When Christina faced bullying in ninth grade, Lisa confronted the situation with the ferocity of a mother protecting her child. When Christina fell in love for the first time and had her heart broken, Lisa stayed up all night holding her while she cried. They were more than sisters. They were best friends, connected by a bond that felt unbreakable. Lisa married Marco when she was 22, and Christina served as her maid of honor. They had their first son 2 years later, and Christina was present in the delivery room, holding Lisa's hand through every contraction. When their second son was born 3 years after that, Christina had moved into an apartment just blocks away from Lisa and Marco's house, wanting to be close enough to help with the boys whenever needed. The sisters spoke multiple times every day, shared holidays and birthdays, and their children grew up thinking of their aunt as a second mother. Christina had always been the more adventurous of the two sisters. While Lisa had chosen a stable career path in healthcare administration and settled into suburban family life, Christina pursued her passion for art and traveled whenever possible. She had exhibited her paintings in small galleries, taught art classes to children, and lived a creative, unconventional life that brought her joy even if it did not bring financial security. She dated occasionally but never married, always saying that she was too independent to settle down and that she preferred the freedom to follow her artistic inspiration wherever it led. Then, when Christina was 32 and Lisa was 38, their lives changed forever. Christina met Daniel, a photographer who shared her artistic sensibilities and nomadic spirit. They fell deeply in love with the intensity that comes when two creative souls recognize each other. Within 6 months, they were married in a small ceremony with just family present. Lisa watched her sister's happiness with genuine joy, thrilled that Christina had found someone who appreciated her unique spirit and matched her passion for life. 8 months after the wedding, Christina discovered she was pregnant. The news brought pure elation. She and Daniel immediately began preparing for parenthood with the same creative enthusiasm they brought to everything else. They painted the nursery with a whimsical mural of clouds and birds. They collected vintage children's books from flea markets. Christina created a series of paintings depicting her changing body and the growing life inside her, documenting her journey to motherhood through art. But at Christina's 20-week ultrasound, the technician's expression changed. She called in the doctor. More tests were ordered. Within a week, Christina and Daniel received devastating news. Christina had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of cervical cancer that had likely been present for months, but had gone undetected until the pregnancy prompted more thorough examinations. The cancer was advanced, and the prognosis was grim. The doctors recommended immediate treatment, which would require terminating the pregnancy to save Christina's life. Christina refused. She made a decision that horrified her doctors and broke her family's hearts. She chose to continue the pregnancy, knowing that delaying treatment significantly reduced her chances of survival. The cancer would continue to grow while she carried her baby. By the time she could deliver and begin treatment, it might be too late to save her. But Christina was unwavering in her choice. This baby was wanted, loved, and deserved a chance at life. She would not sacrifice her child to save herself. Lisa watched her sister make this impossible choice and felt her world tilting. She tried to reason with Christina to convince her that she could have other children after treatment, that survival had to be the priority. But Christina was resolute. "This is my baby," she told Lisa. "This is my child. I cannot kill my child to save myself. I will not do it." If our positions were reversed, if someone told you that you had to choose between your life and one of your boys, what would you choose? Lisa had no answer because she knew exactly what Christina meant. She would choose her children over herself without hesitation, and now her sister was making that same choice. The next 5 months were a nightmare of fear and hope intertwined. Christina continued her pregnancy under close medical supervision. The cancer progressed, but she refused to acknowledge the increasing pain and weakness. She attended every prenatal appointment with Daniel and Lisa by her side. She continued to paint, creating a series of works she called Letters to My Daughter, pieces that expressed everything she wanted to tell the child she might never get to raise. She recorded videos for her baby, messages for birthdays and milestones she might not be present for. She planned for a future she knew she might not see. Lisa spent every possible moment with her sister during those months. She accompanied Christina to doctor appointments, held her hand during painful procedures, and tried to be strong even as she watched cancer steal her sister's vitality week by week. They had conversations about the unthinkable. Christina made Lisa promise that if something happened to her, Lisa would make sure her daughter knew who her mother was, what she had sacrificed, and how desperately she had been loved even before she was born. At 37 weeks, Christina's doctors decided they could not wait any longer. They performed an emergency cesarean section, delivering a tiny but healthy baby girl. Christina held her daughter for the first time and named her Alina, a name that meant light. For 3 precious days, Christina was a mother. She held Alina, nursed her, whispered to her, and photographed every moment with the desperation of someone trying to capture infinity in finite time. Daniel and Lisa stayed in the hospital room around the clock, supporting Christina and caring for Alina when Christina's strength failed. On the 4th day after Alina's birth, Christina began aggressive cancer treatment, but the delay had been too long. The cancer had spread extensively. The doctors tried everything available, but Christina's body had been through too much. The pregnancy, the delivery, and the advanced cancer had left her with no reserves to fight. 6 weeks after Alina was born, Christina died in the hospital with Daniel holding one hand and Lisa holding the other. She was 33 years old. Lisa's grief was a physical thing, a weight that made breathing difficult and existing painful. She had lost her sister, her best friend, the person who had been a constant presence in her life for 32 years. But in the midst of that grief, there was Alina, 6 weeks old, motherless, and utterly dependent. Daniel was devastated and struggling to function. He could barely care for himself, let alone an infant. He had no family nearby, no support system beyond Christina's family. He was drowning in grief and responsibility. Lisa made a decision without consulting anyone. She told Daniel that Alina would come home with her. She and Marco would raise Christina's daughter alongside their sons. Daniel could be as involved as he was able, but he would not have to do this alone. Alina would grow up surrounded by family, loved and cared for, knowing her father but having the stability of a two-parent household. Daniel, barely functioning through his grief, agreed. He knew he could not provide what Alina needed, not in his current state. The legal arrangements were straightforward. Daniel granted Lisa and Marco guardianship with his full support. He visited regularly, but maintained his own life and his own grieving process. Lisa became Alina's primary caretaker, the person who woke up for nighttime feedings, who rocked her through colic, who celebrated first smiles and first words. Marco embraced Alina as fully as Lisa did, treating her exactly as he treated their sons. The boys, 13 and 10 years old when Alina came to live with them, adjusted with the resilience of children, treating their new sister with tenderness and protection. Now, 5 years after Christina's death, Alina was a bright, creative 5-year-old who had inherited her mother's artistic talent and adventurous spirit. She called Lisa and Marco mom and dad because that was who they were to her in every practical sense. But Lisa made sure Alina knew about Christina. The house was filled with Christina's artwork. Photo albums documented Christina's life. Videos showed Christina laughing, painting, living. Lisa told Alina stories about her mother every single day, ensuring that the woman who had sacrificed everything to give Alina life would never be forgotten by the daughter she had chosen to save. The Family Feud appearance had been planned as a celebration. It was the week of what would have been Christina's 38th birthday, and Lisa wanted to do something joyful to honor her sister's memory. Christina had loved game shows and had always talked about applying to be on Family Feud. So Lisa applied in her sister's honor, bringing her family to do what Christina never got the chance to do. When they were selected, it felt like a sign, a way to celebrate Christina's life and the family that had been created from her sacrifice. The game progressed normally at first. The Rodriguez family was doing well, their teamwork and obvious affection for each other charming the audience. Steve Harvey joked and laughed with them, enjoying their energy and warmth. They won the main game and advanced to fast money. Lisa stepped up to the podium to play the first round, with Marco preparing to play the second. Before they started, Steve did his usual pre-game chat with contestants. Lisa, Steve said, I have to ask because I cannot help but notice. You have 2 teenage boys and then this little girl who is clearly much younger. That is quite a gap. Tell me about your family. Lisa smiled, a smile that held both joy and sorrow. This is Alina, she said, gesturing to the 5-year-old standing with Marco. She is my niece, but we are raising her. Steve nodded, thinking he understood. So you are taking care of your niece. That is beautiful. Family taking care of family. Where are her parents? Lisa's smile wavered. Her father visits regularly, but her mother passed away when Alina was 6 weeks old. Steve's expression shifted to sympathy. Oh, I am so sorry. That must have been hard for your family. But it is wonderful that you stepped up to raise her. Lisa took a breath, and something in her expression made Steve pause. There was more to this story than a simple tragedy and family support. What Steve did not know was that Lisa had promised herself she would tell Alina's story if given the opportunity, to honor Christina's sacrifice and ensure it was never forgotten. Steve, Lisa began, her voice steady but thick with emotion, Alina's mother was my younger sister Christina. When Christina was pregnant with Alina, she was diagnosed with aggressive cervical cancer at 20 weeks. The doctors told her she needed immediate treatment, which meant terminating the pregnancy. Christina refused. She chose to continue the pregnancy knowing it would likely cost her life. She carried Alina to 37 weeks while the cancer spread. She got to hold her daughter for 3 days before starting treatment. 6 weeks later, she died. She was 33 years old. She sacrificed her life so that Alina could live. The studio fell into absolute silence. Steve Harvey stood completely still, his characteristic smile gone, replaced by an expression of stunned grief. His eyes filled with tears that he made no attempt to hide. The audience was crying. The crew members behind the cameras were crying. Alina, standing with Marco, did not fully understand why everyone was upset, but she knew this was about her mother, the beautiful woman in all the paintings and photographs at home. Lisa continued, the words flowing out after 5 years of holding them carefully inside. My sister was the most selfless person I have ever known. She loved this baby so much that she gave her life for her. And every single day, I look at Alina and I see Christina. I see her creativity, her spirit, her joy for life. Alina is the living embodiment of the greatest love a mother can have for a child. Christina trusted me to raise her daughter to make sure Alina knows who her mother was and what she did. That is why we are here. Christina loved game shows. She always wanted to be on Family Feud, so we are here for her. We are playing this game in her memory. Steve Harvey tried to speak but could not. He turned away from the camera, his shoulders shaking. The audience watched as this man known for his quick wit and constant humor broke down completely. When he finally turned back, tears streamed down his face. "Lisa," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "in all my years of doing this show, I have never heard anything like what you just told me. Your sister, she gave her life for her child. That is the definition of love. That is what love looks like when everything else is stripped away. Just pure, sacrificial love." He walked over to Alina and knelt down to her level. "Alina, sweetheart, do you know how special your mama was?" Alina nodded seriously. "My mama loved me so much she went to heaven so I could be born. Aunt Lisa tells me every day." Steve's face crumpled again. He pulled the little girl into a gentle hug. "Your mama is watching you right now, baby girl. And she is so proud of you. You remember that, okay? You remember that you are here because of the greatest love there is." Steve stood and addressed Lisa directly. "And you, taking your sister's child and raising her as your own, making sure she knows her mother, honoring that sacrifice every single day. You are continuing your sister's love. You are making sure it does not end with her death. That is beautiful. That is what family is supposed to be." He paused, wiping his eyes. "We are going to play this game. We are going to win this money for Alina and for Christina's memory. But I need you to know that what you have already done is worth more than any prize we could give you." The fast money round began, though the game itself felt secondary to what had just occurred. Lisa answered each question through her tears, drawing on strength she had been building for 5 years. "Name something you would do anything for." "Family." Number 1 answer. "Name something precious." "Life." Number 2 answer. "Name the greatest gift you can give." "Love." Number 1 answer. By the time the round ended, Lisa had scored an exceptional 192 points. Marco's round brought their total to 348 points, one of the highest scores of the season. But the celebration was muted, reverent. This was not about winning a game. This was about honoring a woman who had made the ultimate sacrifice. Steve brought the family together on stage and spoke directly to the cameras. Cristina Rodriguez made a choice that most of us will never have to make. She chose her child over herself. And because of that choice, this beautiful little girl is here. Alina is alive because her mother loved her more than she loved her own life. And Lisa Rodriguez has honored that sacrifice by raising Alina with the same love Cristina would have given her. This is what we are celebrating today. Not a game show win. A mother's love and a sister's devotion. When the episode aired 6 weeks later, the response was overwhelming. The clip went viral immediately, generating over 200 million views in the first week. But unlike typical viral moments driven by shock or entertainment, this was shared with reverence and emotion. People were moved by Cristina's sacrifice, by Lisa's devotion, and by the living proof that love transcends death. Comment sections filled with stories of similar sacrifices, of mothers who had made impossible choices, of families who had stepped up to care for children left behind. Cancer organizations reported a surge in inquiries about pregnancy, related cancer diagnoses, and the difficult decisions women face when cancer is discovered during pregnancy. Medical ethicists used Cristina's story in discussions about maternal autonomy and the complexity of medical decision-making when 2 lives hang in the balance. Support groups for women facing similar choices found Cristina's story both heartbreaking and validating, proof that the choice to continue a pregnancy despite medical risks was worthy of respect rather than judgment. Lisa received thousands of messages from people around the world. Some were from mothers who had made similar choices to Cristina and survived, thanking Lisa for honoring the sacrifice they had been willing to make. Others were from children who had been born under similar circumstances, expressing gratitude that their mother's choices had been validated on such a public platform. Still others were from siblings who had taken in nieces and nephews, finding community and recognition in Lisa's experience. But perhaps the most meaningful responses came from adoptive and foster parents who saw their own experiences reflected in Lisa's story. While the circumstances were different, the fundamental reality was the same. They had taken children who needed families and made them their own, not because biology dictated it, but because love did. Lisa became an unexpected advocate for kinship care and the importance of keeping children within their extended families whenever possible. She spoke at conferences, wrote articles, and shared her experience to help others navigate similar situations. The money from Family Feud was placed in a trust for Alina's future education, but the unexpected financial support that followed dwarfed the game show winnings. Viewers donated over $500,000 to a fund established in Christina's name to support children who had lost parents to cancer. Steve Harvey's foundation partnered with the family to create scholarships for young artists in Christina's honor, ensuring her creative legacy would support others pursuing artistic dreams. Daniel, Alina's biological father, had maintained regular contact with Alina throughout her childhood, but the public telling of Christina's story affected him profoundly. He had spent 5 years feeling guilty about allowing Lisa to take primary responsibility for Alina, wondering if he had failed as a father by not being stronger in his grief. But seeing the public response, understanding how many people recognized the impossible position he had been in, helped him begin to forgive himself. He increased his involvement in Alina's life, and Lisa welcomed it, knowing that Alina deserved to know both the father who had loved her mother and the family who had raised her. 3 years after the Family Feud appearance, Lisa published a memoir titled Keeping the Promise, detailing her relationship with Christina, the devastating months of Christina's pregnancy and illness, and the journey of raising Alina while honoring her sister's memory. The book became required reading in social work programs studying kinship care and in medical ethics courses examining maternal decision-making. But more importantly, it became a comfort to countless individuals facing loss, offering a roadmap for how to grieve while simultaneously celebrating the life that came from that loss. Alina herself, growing older and beginning to truly understand her origin story, processed her mother's sacrifice with remarkable maturity. By age 8, she was asking thoughtful questions about Christina, about cancer, about the choice her mother had made. Lisa answered every question honestly and age-appropriately, never shying away from the difficult reality that Alina existed because Christina had died. But she always framed it the same way. Your mother loved you so much that she chose you over everything else. That is not sad. That is the most beautiful love there is. Alina began showing artistic talent even more pronounced than Christina's had been. By age 9, she was creating paintings that art teachers called extraordinary for her age. Lisa enrolled her in advanced art classes and surrounded her with Christina's work, letting Alina study her mother's technique and style. Alina would stand in front of Christina's self-portraits for long periods, studying the face of the woman who had given her life. I look like her, she would say with pride. I paint like her too. Mom would be proud. Steve Harvey remained deeply affected by his encounter with the Rodriguez family. In interviews, he often cited Lisa's story as one of the most powerful moments in his career. It changed how I see everything, he would say. It reminded me that every single person has a story, and sometimes those stories are so profound that they deserve to be heard. Lisa did not come on that show to win money. She came to honor her sister. And in doing that, she honored every mother who has ever made a sacrifice for her child, and every person who has ever stepped up to care for a child who needed a family. 5 years after the Family Feud appearance, Lisa was invited back for a special episode honoring impactful contestants. Alina, now 10 years old, appeared with her. Steve asked Alina what she thought about her mother's story now that she was old enough to understand it more fully. Alina's response brought tears to everyone's eyes once again. My mom Christina gave me life, but my mom Lisa gave me a family. I am lucky because I have 2 moms who love me, one in heaven and one here. And I have a dad and brothers and everyone who loved my mom Christina. She gave me the best gift, which was life. And Aunt Lisa, I mean Mom Lisa, gave me the second best gift, which was making sure I know who my mom Christina was. I never met her, but I know her because everyone makes sure I know her. Lisa added her own reflection on the journey. People ask me all the time if raising Alina has been hard. And yes, it has been. Every milestone she reaches is something Christina should have been here to see. Every Mother's Day, I think about the fact that Christina only got 3 days of motherhood. But Alina is not a burden. She is a gift. She is the living proof that love is stronger than death. Christina's love for her daughter did not end when she died. It continues through Alina, through the family that surrounds her, through everyone who has been touched by her story. That is what legacy really means. The impact of Christina's story extended into the medical community in unexpected ways. Oncologists began having different conversations with pregnant patients facing cancer diagnoses. Rather than immediately recommending termination, many doctors started presenting all options more thoroughly, acknowledging that some women might choose to delay treatment to give their babies a chance at life. Support programs were developed specifically for women making this choice, providing both medical care optimized for their unique situation and emotional support for the impossible decisions they faced. Art schools and children's museums began hosting annual exhibitions in Christina's name, showcasing both her work and art created by children like Alina, who had been touched by her story. These exhibitions served multiple purposes. They honored Christina's artistic legacy, they raised money for cancer research and family support services, and they provided platforms for conversations about maternal sacrifice, childhood loss, and the power of art to process grief and celebrate life simultaneously. The relationship between Lisa's sons and Alina evolved beautifully as they all grew older. The boys, now young men, treated Alina with the protective devotion that uncles typically show favorite nieces, while simultaneously embracing her fully as their sister. They had grown up witnessing their mother's dedication to honoring Christina's memory, and it had shaped their own values around family loyalty and sacrifice. When asked about Alina, they did not say she was their cousin being raised as a sister. They simply said she was their sister, because that was the truth that mattered. 10 years after Christina's death, Lisa organized a memorial event that brought together everyone whose lives had been touched by Christina's story. Medical professionals who had cared for Christina attended. Cancer survivors who had made similar choices to continue pregnancies despite diagnoses came. Children who had been born under similar circumstances, now thriving, were present with their families. Supporters from around the world sent messages. The event was not somber but celebratory, honoring not the tragedy of Christina's death but the triumph of her choice and the life that had come from it. Elena, now 15 years old, spoke at the event with a poise and maturity that reminded everyone of Christina. She talked about growing up knowing her origin story, about the responsibility she felt to live a life worthy of the sacrifice made for her, about the art she created as a way of connecting with the mother she had never known. She announced that she planned to pursue art therapy as a career, wanting to help other children who had experienced loss to process their emotions through creativity, just as Christina's art had helped her process the loss of a mother she had never gotten to keep. As this profound story demonstrates, the greatest love is often measured not by what we keep, but by what we are willing to sacrifice. Christina Rodriguez chose to give her life so her daughter could live, making a decision that most of us will never face, but that defines the ultimate expression of maternal love. Lisa Rodriguez chose to honor that sacrifice by raising Alina with devotion and ensuring Christina's memory lived on through the daughter she had died to save. Together, these sisters showed the world that love transcends death, that family is defined by commitment rather than biology alone, and that the most powerful legacy we can leave is not what we accomplish for ourselves, but what we sacrifice for others. If this story has moved you the way it moved Steve Harvey and millions of viewers around the world, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful true stories about love, sacrifice, and the strength of family bonds. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded of the extraordinary capacity humans have for selfless love, or with anyone who has experienced loss and needs to see how life can emerge from tragedy. Christina Rodriguez's choice and Lisa Rodriguez's devotion remind us that the bonds of family are not broken by death, but strengthened by the love we choose to carry forward and the promises we refuse to break no matter how difficult they become.